What is up, YouTube? Dark Assassin 2086 coming at you with a deck profile for my Undefeated Invoked Pendulum Magicians post-September 2017 ban list. Before I get into this, all I want to say is like, comment, and subscribe. I will be trying to do videos as much as I can. Hopefully my upload speed gets a little bit better so I can do this more frequently. And also to subscribe to Team TNY, which is a YouTube channel that me and a bunch of friends do mainly Yu-Gi-Oh related videos on. This channel will be more than just Yu-Gi-Oh related videos, but I'm going to hurry up and cut into the deck profile, that way this don't take too long. So starting off, I run double Astrograph Sorcerer to summon Zark, and it's a solid hand trap. It has great synergy with Wisdom Eye and Star Pendulum Graph, essentially, because you'd like to have Star Pendulum Graph, this in hand, and a Wisdom Eye with another Magician. You use Wisdom Eye's effect, and then after that resolves, Channeling 1 would be Star Pendulum Graph, Channeling 2 would be this, summon it, and get some free pluses, basically. After that, triple double Iris Magician, one of your main high scales, gets you access to your Pendulum Graphs, which are a necessity in this deck, and its Pendulum effect to do double damage is pretty solid. After that, we got triple Black Fang Magician, again another high scale, really good. Has a bit of a pseudo Dark Rebellion effect for its Pendulum scale, and then its monster effect does revive Dark Spellcasters from grave, which can be anything ranging from Alistair to Time Star Magician. After that, triple Purple Poison Magician, one of your main low scales, one of your main offensive cards, mainly because of it giving you the 1200 point attack boost before damage calculation. And when it's destroyed by battle or card effect, it does pop a face-up card on the field, which is really nice. Following that, just triple Harmonizing Magician, which gives you access to your rank 4s and your level 8 Synchro plays. And if you do choose to run something like Timebreaker Magician, it does give you access to level 7s, but I personally do not run them just because it does kind of hinder the synergy with the rest of the deck, being that it'd be like the only level 3 outside of a hand trap. All in all, it's probably the best Magician outside of Wisdom Eye. And speaking of which, triple Wisdom Eye, because you basically have to run this card. Like, if you're not running this thing at 3, I mean, I don't know if you got some sort of spicy tech to substitute it that's even beyond every other Pendulum Magician player's imagination, or if you're just being silly, because this card is a typical staple 3 of. Following that, for the 1-of Magicians, I do run the 1 White Wing for Zark, and it's a tuner, so, you know, that's a plus. And then 1 Oath Dragon, just to recover any sort of resource that we have in our extra deck. And if I do have the rare situation where I have to summon them, I can recover some pendulums from my graveyard. After that, I do run the Performapal Engine, and I run, of course, the Pot of Greed. The double Performapal Pendulum Sorcerer triggers our Pendulum Scale monster effects, and of course it does search for cards like the Pot of Greed Engine, and of course the triple Joker. I mean, you know, it's a pretty standard number. Honestly, I feel bad for the OCG. They only have 1 Joker, which, I mean, you know, they got other substitutes for it, because I've seen them run like the Cypher Engine, which I haven't even considered trying, but, you know, I mean, whatever fills in the gaps for them and works for them, you know, more power to them. For hand traps, I do run the 1 Max D because Max C, and double Ash. If I had a third, I would probably run it, but for me, double Ash has always been really consistent. And, you know, now that we're in a transitional format, Ash has a lot more diversity and a lot more uses, so I really do love Ash. Right now, I do have Ogre on the side, and I only made this choice for when I went to the regional in Tupelo, Mississippi back September the 9th, because I thought, well, you know, this will probably be a little better, yada, yada, yada. It did help quite a bit, and, you know, I've kind of stuck with it ever since, and I think I'll probably stick with it for every particular build from here on out until Ogre somehow has some sort of priority over Ash Blossom in terms of usefulness. And then for the last monster, the 1 Alistair the Invoker, of course, to get your Invoke plays going off. That was all the monsters. Onto the spells. Triple Duelist Alliance, you know, staple 3 of. Now that we got the common reprinting, which is very sad for me to hear. More players have more access to this card, which is great. I mean, this is definitely one of your main searchers for the deck. I mean, searches you out everything from Pendulum Call, your Pendulum Graphs, to Double Iris Magician. For those of you that don't know, because of his name being considered a Pendulum Dragon, he is a searchable target off of this. After that, I do run Double Pot of Desires. Oh, this card is I have a love-hate relationship with this thing. It's very good. I mean, it allows you to plow through the majority of your deck. And, I mean, for the most part, I haven't really had many issues with it, but every now and then I will get some very bad hits. Like, there's been like 2 occasions where I've banished both of my Time Pendulum Graphs, and there's 1 occasion I banished all 3 of my Harmonizing Magicians. And then there's other cases where, yeah, I may banish like part of my Invoked Engine, but I'll draw into like Lizard Draw and a Harmonizing Magician, which is what I did the other night at locals, and it ended up helping me win because I was able to establish, I believe it was like a Decode Talker, and there's something else. I believe it was I think it was a Time Star, and I feel like there may have been another rank 4. I can't remember off the top of my head. Like there were several matchups. It was like 4 rounds and then top 4. Again, I obviously went undefeated, but outside of that, after that, for the 1-ofs, one Invocation. I mean, if you run an Alistair, you better be running Invocation. If you run Alistair and you don't run the Invocation, you've literally just got a dead card in your deck outside of sending it for Time Star. Following up with that is the 1-star Pendulum Graph. I have ran this at 2. Excuse me, but I've kind of come to that point where you really don't need to. 1's perfect enough, and if it gets popped, your deck has enough consistency and search and draw power that you really don't need the second one. It can clog if you have too many of it. For the last 2 1-ups, Raigeki because of it being a board wipe, and then Pendulum Call essentially because if you can protect your scales for a good turn or 2, which I mean, technically this does protect it for 2, and and you get the search for whatever missing combo pieces you need, you can't really go wrong with this card. Of course, that's all the spells, and then for the only 2 traps in my deck, I do run double Time Pendulum Graph. This is definitely, I'd say, a staple 2 of at this point. I mean, the card has such great utility. At my locals, I typically play against like Satellar Knights, which used to give me a run for my money. This card with Tornado Dragon turn 1 is like a guaranteed, like, you're probably going to win almost a top deck, something godly. I mean, I love this card a lot, and I'm glad they made it. If this card ever gets hit, like, the deck's going to lose a lot of what it was good with. That's all the cards. I believe, if I remember correctly, this is like a 41, 42 card deck. If I remember correctly, I'd say roughly 40 to 42, just as a guesstimate. But after that, of course, we got the extra deck. Excuse me. I'll start off with running Double Mechaba. This card is really just here for the extra negation. It's the only invoked fusion monster I run, and that was one thing I felt the deck lacked was negation. And of course, people do run Miss Valley Apex Avian. However, because of it being a level 7, it's not really easy to summon outside of strict pendulum summoning. I didn't really like it. So I went with the Invoked Engine because that's a deck I have played in the past, being Invoked One Witch Artifacts or Kaijus, depending on what I was feeling. And this card's always been really good. It wins me several games, and it's by far one of the best fusions I've seen in a long time. Following up with that is one Zark. This is the only other fusion I run in the deck. Sadly, I don't get to make this guy that often. The other day I was, again, playing against that same Stellar Knot player, and I came stupidly close to getting out Zark. But I was missing like 1 card, and I think it was actually in my extra deck, but it was so late in the game, there was really no point in me dragging it on. But I do run those 3 fusions. And of course, you know, you don't have to run Zark, but I choose to. For my only 2 Link monsters, I do run the 1 Proxy Dragon and 1 Decode Talker. Decode Talker, I mean, some people do say that this deck doesn't need links, and I do apologize that I'm talking fast. I just don't want this to drag on. But people say that the deck doesn't need links. If you want to really extend and be more explosive, this is a good way to do it. Essentially, I mean, you're going to go for Decode Talker first, and then after a while, you'll go for the Proxy Dragon, establish it in a zone. That way you open up more zones, obviously. Some people don't find this practical. I've used it like 2 or 3 times, which sounds very situational, but, you know, if I can make it, I'm going to go for it. And it's worked well for me pretty much every time. That was all the Link monsters for the Synchros. Right now I am, excuse me, only running 2, that being Supreme King Dragon Clearwing because of him being a board wipe, and he can destroy any monster that he battles and deal burn damage, which is really, really nice in my opinion. And Bills, because if I ever do go up against a True Draco, I've at least got the out in him. I would run Ignister or Stardust or something like that, but to me those were too situational, and whatever I needed to remove, like Ignister, I had Time Pendulum Graph already established, or a Tornado Dragon, so it was just kind of like, I don't need you. And if it was something that I couldn't target, I mean, I've got other options like Supreme King Dragon, Dark Rebellion. But, of course, those are the only 2 Synchros I run for the time being. For rank 4s, I do run Dweller for Light Sworns and any other Graveyard Reliant deck. Tornado Dragon, because, you know, it's a pops back row. It's really good. Love it. The double Time Star. I'm considering cutting this down to 1 because I don't ever really make the 2. But, you know, it searches any of your dark spellcasters. It sends any attribute spellcaster to grave. So, you know, you can send Pendulum Sorcerer. You can send Alistair if you already got the invocation in hand. That way it's live for your next turn or for your standby phase, whatever. Or not necessarily your standby phase, but you know what I mean. It's all in all solid card. Allows you to get the secondary effect of your Time Pendulum graph, so it makes it really good. For the last 3 rank 4s, I do run Trapeze Magician for going first against any sort of burn deck. The getting to attack twice thing, I don't really use that often because I don't ever make this unless I'm playing against Chain Burn or Trickstar. Spring King Dragon Dark Rebellion to handle any sort of big monster that I can't get over naturally that can't be targeted. Like I used this twice against Chaos Max Dragon, and both times the 2 people that were playing the deck were just so stunned. So they're like, "Oh, you can't target," and I was like, "It don't target." They were like, "What?" And I was just like, 6,500 damage on board. Great job. And then, of course, Utopia, and then for the only rank 5, Lightning. Of course, that's my extra deck. Onto the side deck. The side deck is small because I've been tweaking with it, and some of the cards that were in there before I never did use, so I just took them out, and I'm only keeping with the stuff I got. And for that is double Ghost Ogre. I mean, Ghost Ogre is still a really solid option. I just don't really have much use for it right now. Excuse me. Dinko, just top decks that like to rely on back row, such as Paleo Frogs, or again, Satellar Knights, because I always end up going against that deck. And, you know, this is definitely like an instant win against that deck unless they got, what's it called? Solemn Warning, or, you know, if they just run it over. Or any sort of board wipe, which I haven't really had much issue with worrying about board wipes with that deck. But, you know, maybe that's just me. That's currently all the monsters, because, again, I did say that I cut it down because I didn't have enough room. Or, not so much that I didn't have enough room, but I didn't have a whole lot of use for the other ones. But for the only spells, I do run Double Twin Twister because back row hate, and then Royal Decree because back row hate. This is the deck's main flaw, is that it can lose out pretty big to any sort of board wipe. Whether it be, and by board wipe, I do include Solemn Strike, because if you pin 5 from your hand and your extra deck, then they Solemn Strike it. I mean, yeah, you do get the trigger effects off your Magicians, but, you know, kind of hurts a fair amount unless you got some sort of recovery play. Excuse me. But with all that being said, that is all for my Pendulum Magician deck profile. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Hopefully y'all can take my build and improve upon it, and maybe y'all can find y'all's own little unique twists for the deck. But with all that being said, lastly again, like, comment, subscribe to not just my channel but to Team TNY, and I believe that is all. So, Dark Assassin 2886 signing out.